Welcome to Locked and Loaded Sports. It's time to lock in, load up, and win big. If you're serious about sports and love cashing in on solid picks, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get to work. In this video, we will discuss Week 11 NFL picks for every game on the Sunday slate, using a blend of historical data, advanced sports analytics, and real-world sentiment to deliver sharp and sometimes contrarian betting picks. Now let's get into it. History will be made this Sunday as the National Football League touches down in Madrid for the first time ever. The global stage is set inside the legendary Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, where the Washington Commanders and the Miami Dolphins will square off in a neutral site showdown that carries plenty of intrigue. Miami enters as a narrow 2-point favorite, but both teams are traveling across the Atlantic with something to prove. It has been a brutal stretch for the Washington Commanders. They enter Week 11 on a 5-game losing streak, both straight up and against the spread. Injuries have ravaged this roster. Quarterback Jaden Daniels is sidelined with a dislocated elbow. Star wide receiver Terry McLaurin remains out with a quad issue, and the defense has been gutted by losses in the secondary, including cornerback Marshawn Lattimore's season-ending knee injury. Washington's defense was gashed for over 500 yards in last week's 44-22 loss to Detroit, and with the offense struggling to find rhythm, the Commanders are desperate for any kind of spark. On the road, things have not been much better, one win in their last 6 away from home. Historically, Washington has also struggled against Miami, dropping 4 of the last 6 meetings, including a 45-15 drubbing the last time these teams met in 2023. The Miami Dolphins come into Madrid with renewed confidence after a statement win in Week 10. Miami dominated Buffalo 30-13 at home thanks to an aggressive defense and a balanced defensive attack. Despite a 3-8 overall record in their last 11 games, the Dolphins have quietly been solid against the number, covering in 4 of their last 6 home contests. When these two teams face off, the numbers tilt heavily toward Miami. The Dolphins are unbeaten against the spread in their last 5 meetings with Washington, winning 4 of those outright. The trend also favors the under. 4 of the last 5 matchups between these teams have gone below the total, with defense often dictating the tone. This week, Miami's defense will look to pressure Washington's backup quarterback and force mistakes, while the offense should find success attacking a depleted Commanders secondary. Playing in Madrid adds a fascinating wrinkle. Both teams will travel roughly the same distance from the East Coast, so the typical home field advantage does not apply. The crowd will be international, the atmosphere electric, and the game could start slow as both sides adjust to time and travel. However, in these kinds of neutral site games, the more cohesive, better coached, and healthier team usually finds a way to win, and right now, that is Miami. The Commanders are simply too banged up and too inconsistent to trust in this spot. Miami's defense is surging, the offense is finding balance, and the team carries real momentum into this historic matchup. We are getting locked and loaded with the Dolphins to cover. And here's a reminder to smash that like button. It is totally free. And now we start breaking down the Carolina Panthers, who are traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Carolina is coming off a tough Week 10 loss to the New Orleans Saints, falling 17-7. Dropping them to 5-5, they basically struggled to move the ball and were overpowered up front. Injuries along the offensive line and defensive front clearly affected both their protection and pass rush ability. Despite flashes of potential in the early drives, the Panthers just could not sustain offensive drives and were consistently outgained in yardage. On the other side, Atlanta fell to the Indianapolis Colts in Week 10, losing 31-25. Quarterback Michael Penix Jr. showed resilience under pressure, but also struggled at times, compounded by injuries and depth concerns. Their defense, however, remains a bright spot as the Falcons generated 7 sacks, giving QB Daniel Jones a bloody lip, which has circulated all over social media. The Falcons' special teams issues persist, but the defensive front can swing momentum and keep games close even when the offense struggles. Historically, this matchup has leaned slightly toward Carolina in recent years when it comes to covering spreads, with Carolina going 5-2 against the number in their last 7 games against Atlanta and 4-1 against the spread on the road against them. Atlanta, meanwhile, has been inconsistent, posting a 1-4 record against the spread at home versus the Panthers, though they have a strong straight-up track record at home in this series. Recent head-to-head matchups are tightly contested, including an Atlanta 0-30 loss at Carolina just 2 weeks ago, showing the Panthers can dominate under the right conditions. With Bryce Young's emergence and Rico Dowdle taking control in the backfield, Carolina has the offensive tools to keep this game close. Both teams are capable of producing defensive stops and turnovers, pointing to a matchup where the spread might be difficult for the Falcons to cover comfortably. We are getting locked and loaded with the Panthers to cover, with the lean on the under. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you. For our next game, we are diving into one of the key games from the Week 11 Sunday slate as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head north to face the Buffalo Bills in what promises to be a hard-hitting AFC showdown. Buffalo is coming off a disappointing 30-13 loss to the Miami Dolphins in Week 10, a game in which injuries piled up and big plays from Miami exposed cracks on both sides of the ball. Despite the setback, Buffalo remains a strong home team historically, winning 14 of their last 15 home games, and they have dominated the Bills-Buccaneers series at home over the years. On the other side, Tampa Bay just lost at home to New England, a 28-23 loss. But on the bright side, the Buccaneers are riding a 5-game winning streak on the road. Baker Mayfield has been efficient, throwing for 273 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Patriots. But Tampa Bay's defense has struggled to contain explosive plays. Injuries continue to impact depth, with key contributors like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Bucky Irving sidelined or limited. Still, the Bucs have had the Bills' number in recent matchups, going 8-1-1 against the spread in the last 10 games versus Buffalo. Looking at historical trends, Buffalo struggles against Tampa Bay, though they have an impressive straight-up record at home. Tampa Bay, conversely, is 4-1 straight up and against the spread on the road, showing they can execute away from Tampa even with injury challenges. Buffalo has more recent home dominance, but Tampa Bay's consistent performance against Buffalo historically and their recent road form cannot be ignored. Given the defensive strength of both teams, combined with the expected cold and potentially snowy conditions in Buffalo, this contest is likely to be a grinded-out affair. Offenses may struggle to find rhythm and big plays can be limited. Considering all these factors, we are getting locked and loaded on the under. Please leave a comment with your favorite picks. It helps our channel a bunch. Thank you. And now we are zooming in on a matchup that pits an emerging Houston Texans squad against a struggling Tennessee Titans team at home. The Titans come off a bye in Week 10, but their recent trends at Nissan Stadium are alarming. They are 0-5 straight up in their last 5 home games and just 1-11 against the spread in their last 12 games at home. Offensively, the Titans have struggled to put points on the board consistently, and even facing a Texans team missing some key starters, the historical numbers are stacked against them. Houston, on the other hand, is riding momentum from their dramatic Week 10 comeback win over Jacksonville. Backup quarterback Davis Mills showcased his ability to keep the offense moving, while the emergence of rookie running back Woody Marks has energized the Texans' backfield. Houston has been solid against Tennessee historically, winning 5 of the last 6 meetings straight up and against the spread, including impressive road performances in Tennessee. Houston is 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games versus the Titans and 5-1 against the spread when playing on the road in Tennessee. The Texans' balanced attack, combined with the Titans' ongoing home struggles, paints a clear picture. Defensively, Houston's squad has demonstrated the ability to shut teams down, forcing key turnovers late in games, while Tennessee's home defense has been porous, allowing multiple big plays to opponents in recent weeks. Even with the Titans having extra rest from the bye week, there is little evidence to suggest that they can overcome both the Texans' momentum and historical dominance in this matchup. We are getting locked and loaded with the Texans to cover. And now we float to Valhalla or Purple Heaven, where the Chicago Bears travel to Minnesota to face the Vikings, who are favored at home. The Bears are coming off a 24-20 win over the New York Giants, led by quarterback Caleb Williams, who showcased his ability to make clutch throws and manage the game effectively. Running back DeAndre Swift and the supporting backfield helped keep drives alive. Wide receiver Rome Odunze chipped in a TD, and first-year head coach Ben Johnson continues to implement a disciplined and aggressive game plan despite injuries in the secondary and linebacker core. Minnesota, meanwhile, fell 27-19 to the Baltimore Ravens in Week 10. Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy showed flashes of brilliance, but struggled with turnovers and key penalties late in the game. Injuries in the secondary and at running back limited Minnesota's ability to sustain drives and protect the ball. Historically, the Vikings have dominated the Bears at home, 8-1 straight up in their last 9 meetings, and 9-4 straight up in their last 13 home games overall. Despite Minnesota's historical dominance, Chicago has been resilient recently, going 4-2 straight up in their last 6 road games and 5-2 against the spread in its last 7 overall. While the Bears have struggled historically against Minnesota, Caleb Williams' poise and Ben Johnson's first-year coaching adjustments make them a credible threat to keep this contest close. The Vikings have been inconsistent against the spread lately, going 2-4 in their last 6 games, and they were unable to close out the game against Baltimore in Week 10. Meanwhile, the Bears have been executing effectively in key moments, making the spread look much more attainable. We are getting locked and loaded with the Bears to cover. And now we zero in on the Cincinnati Bengals, who travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers in what promises to be a compelling matchup. The Bengals are coming off a Week 10 bye, giving them a chance to rest key players and regroup after a thrilling high-scoring loss to the Chicago Bears in Week 9. Their offense remains potent, led by Joe Flacco, who has been lighting up defenses with impressive passing numbers. However, Cincinnati's defense has shown cracks, especially in critical moments, and injuries to their pass rush and linebacking core could limit their ability to slow down opposing offenses. On the other side, the Pittsburgh Steelers are returning home after a disappointing loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. While the offense struggled to find rhythm in that game, Pittsburgh has historically performed very well at home and has dominated head-to-head matchups against Cincinnati over the past several seasons. The Steelers' defense has been effective at controlling games in Pittsburgh, and even with a few injuries in the secondary, the team's depth, Mike Tomlin's coaching and home field advantage are significant factors. Historically, the Steelers have won 18 of their last 25 games against the Bengals and are 4-2 against the spread in their last 6 home meetings with Cincinnati. The Bengals, by contrast, have struggled on the road against Pittsburgh and have a poor record against the spread in recent road games. With both teams bringing contrast and strengths to the field, this game could see explosive offensive moments from the Bengals countered by the disciplined home field advantages of the Steelers. We are getting locked and loaded with the Steelers to cover. We hope you're enjoying this content. Check out our Instagram page. Link in the description. Now we head to Saxonville in Duval County, where the Los Angeles Chargers travel to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars in a matchup that pits a high-powered offense against a resilient home team. The Chargers are coming off a strong defensive performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where they held their opponent to just 10 points while Justin Herbert and the offense did enough to secure the win. Injuries on the offensive line and secondary were present, but key contributors like Khalil Mack and Ladd McConkey played pivotal roles, and the team showed depth that allowed them to remain effective despite absences. The Jaguars, on the other hand, suffered a painful loss to the Houston Texans, blowing a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter. Jacksonville's offense, led by their talented receivers, showed flashes of explosive playmaking, but the team struggled to protect leads late in the game. So injuries on the offensive line and the skill position players, most notably wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. and Dyami Brown and right tackle Anton Harrison, have limited their ability to execute at full strength, particularly in the passing game. Looking at the historical trends, Los Angeles has dominated this series in recent years, winning 8 of their last 11 matchups against Jacksonville and covering the spread 9 times in those contests. On the road against the Jaguars, the Chargers have been especially strong, covering 5 of their last 6 trips while winning 4 of those games outright. Both teams have shown a tendency for high-scoring games when they meet, with the total going over in 7 of the last 8 matchups. The Chargers' balanced attack and opportunistic defense, combined with Jacksonville's struggles to close out games and protect key players, tilt the matchup in Los Angeles' favor. We are getting locked and loaded with the Chargers to cover. Before we dive into our next matchup, we want to take a quick moment to say thank you. We just passed the 400 subscriber mark, and it's all because of you. We truly appreciate your support and are grateful to have you along for the ride. For our next game to discuss, we turn our eyes to MetLife Stadium, where the Green Bay Packers look to bounce back and the New York Giants try to pick up the pieces after another gut-wrenching defeat. The Packers enter this matchup disappointed from a frustrating 10-7 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Green Bay's defense played championship-caliber football, but the offense sputtered again. Quarterback Jordan Love completed 20 of 36 passes for 176 yards, and the only touchdown came late on a short run by Josh Jacobs. Injuries continue to pile up. All-Pro lineman E. Jenkins left with an ankle injury. Wide receiver Romeo Dubes is nursing a chest issue, and tight end Tucker Kraft remains out for the year. Head coach Matt LaFleur knows his group must clean up penalties, find rhythm in the passing game, and protect the quarterback if Green Bay wants to stay in the thick of the NFC playoff race. On the other side, the Giants are coming off yet another painful collapse, this time falling to the Chicago Bears 24-20 after leading by 10 in the fourth quarter. Rookie quarterback Jackson Dart showed promise with 2 rushing touchdowns before leaving with a concussion. Veteran Russell Wilson took over but could not stop the Bears' rally. The loss dropped New York to 2-7, and the fallout was swift. Head coach Brian DeBall was fired, leaving the Giants searching for stability. Injuries have been relentless. Cornerback Paulson Adebo, defensive lineman Chauncey Golston, and several others remain on the mend, while kicker Graham Gano continues to deal with a neck issue. For the Giants, it has been a season of frustration, and the home crowd will be eager to see some fight from an undermanned roster. History suggests these teams play close when they meet. The Giants have covered the spread in 6 of the last 9 matchups with Green Bay, including last year's dramatic 24-20 win at MetLife. Yet both trends and momentum tell a different story this week. The Packers' defense is healthy, physical, and hungry after holding Philadelphia to just 10 points. The Giants, meanwhile, are turning to a backup quarterback behind an offensive line that has struggled all season. When you break it down, coaching stability, roster health, and defensive consistency, the edge leans heavily toward the visitors. Expect Green Bay to lean on Josh Jacobs early, let Jordan Love find rhythm off play action, and allow that pass rush to tee off against Russell Wilson. Points may come at a premium, but the Packers should control the tempo from start to finish. We're getting locked and loaded with Packers to cover and a lean on buying a half point to keep the spread within a touchdown. We are keeping the wheels rolling to the West Coast, where the Los Angeles Rams welcome the Seattle Seahawks to SoFi Stadium in what promises to be one of the most intriguing divisional matchups of the week. The Rams enter Week 11 riding a wave of confidence after an impressive 42-26 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. Quarterback Matthew Stafford was sharp and is quietly putting together a league MVP performance this season. The Rams' defense was opportunistic, and Los Angeles looked every bit like a playoff contender. Wide receiver Davante Adams, however, left that game late with an oblique injury, and his status remains uncertain. The Rams' offensive rhythm has been one of the best in football over the last month, but if Adams is limited or unavailable, that could test their depth at receiver. Still, the Rams have been dominant at home, winning 4 of their last 5 at SoFi Stadium and covering the spread in 5 of their last 6 home games. On the other side, the Seattle Seahawks are coming off a blowout 44-22 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Quarterback Sam Darnold and wide receiver Jackson Smith sparked a big offensive day, and the Seahawks' defensive front was relentless, producing 5 sacks. However, the team suffered a few important injuries, most notably the loss of veteran defensive tackle Jarran Reed, who was placed on injured reserve with a wrist injury. Center Jalen Sandell also left last week's game with a knee issue, which could create problems against the Rams' interior pass rush. When these two NFC West rivals meet, history tells a consistent story. Los Angeles has had Seattle's number. The Rams have won 11 of the last 16 meetings overall and have covered the spread in 8 of the last 9. At home, they've been even tougher, going 5-1 against the spread and winning 8 of the last 11 against the Seahawks in Los Angeles. The total has also leaned toward the under in most of these contests, with 4 of the last 5 head-to-head matchups staying below expectations. But this is not the same Seahawks team of years past. Under head coach Mike Macdonald, Seattle has shown a tougher defensive identity and a more disciplined, balanced approach. The Seahawks have been one of the league's best road teams this season, winning 5 straight away from home, both straight up and against the spread. Their offense has found rhythm, their defensive schemes have grown more aggressive, and McDonald's influence is beginning to show in the team's confidence and resilience. The Rams may have the historical edge, but with Seattle's current momentum, improved coaching, and ability to adapt on the road, this game has all the makings of a close battle deep into the fourth quarter. We are getting locked and loaded with Seattle to cover. Agree or disagree? If you think the Rams will cover at home, drop it in the comments. And for our next Sunday Funday battle to discuss, we head to Cleveland, where 2 familiar AFC North foes square off once again as the Browns host the surging Ravens. For Baltimore, this is about continuing momentum. The Ravens are coming off a 3rd straight victory, a 27-19 win over the Minnesota Vikings, fueled by a relentless defense that forced 3 turnovers and pressured the quarterback on nearly every dropback. Perhaps more importantly, Baltimore is healthy, a luxury few teams can claim this deep into the season. Lamar Jackson has looked increasingly comfortable directing a balanced attack, and the defense under coordinator Zach Orr is finding its identity again as one of the league's most physical and opportunistic units. Cleveland, on the other hand, finds itself searching for answers. Their 27-20 loss to the New York Jets was marred by costly special teams miscues and protection issues up front. Rookie quarterback Dylan Gabriel continues to gain valuable experience, but the offensive line's inconsistency and lack of passing rhythm have stunted drives. The bright spot remains the ground game, which churned out 158 rushing yards last week. But they'll face a Ravens front 7 that thrives on eliminating that strength early. Historically, Baltimore has owned this matchup, winning 14 of the last 20 meetings and covering in 8 of the last 12. But the Browns have been more competitive at home, even pulling off back-to-back home upsets in 2023 and 2024. The problem: this year's Cleveland team doesn't look as organized or confident. Even at home, their offense has been streaky, their special teams a liability, and their defense less consistent against elite quarterbacks. Cleveland plays with heart early behind the home crowd, but the Ravens' poise and balance take over. We are getting locked and loaded with the Ravens to cover. And now we head to Glendale, Arizona, where the San Francisco 49ers travel to face the Cardinals in a divisional clash that promises fireworks. Both teams have had their struggles this season, but injuries and matchups could make the difference in this one. The 49ers are coming off a tough 42-26 loss to the Los Angeles Rams. Quarterback Mac Jones showed he can still move the offense, completing 33 of 39 passes for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. The problem remains the defense, which has been decimated by injuries. With Nick Bosa out for the season and rookie Michael Williams sidelined, San Francisco has struggled to generate a pass rush, and their secondary has been repeatedly exposed. Wide receivers Jay Jennings and Ricky Pearsall are trending toward playing, which should help the offense, but the team still looks vulnerable against a savvy, opportunistic opponent. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals are trying to right the ship after a 44-22 loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Veteran QB Jacoby Brissett has shown flashes but lacks consistent protection as injuries have piled up across the offensive line and defensive backs. Running back James Conner is out, and Trey Benson's lingering knee issue limits the offense's balance, forcing Arizona to rely heavily on short passes and creative plays. Despite the setbacks, the Cardinals are 4-2 at home in their last 6 games, and they have the crowd and familiarity working in their favor. Historically, the 49ers have had the edge in this rivalry, winning 5 of the last 7 meetings overall. However, Arizona has pulled off surprises in recent matchups, including several one-point victories over San Francisco. The total has gone over in 6 of the last 8 games between these teams, highlighting the potential for a high-scoring affair. This matchup could come down to home field advantage and resilience. The Cardinals, though battered, will be highly motivated to perform in front of their fans. The 49ers, while talented, may still struggle to pressure the quarterback and contain Arizona's playmakers. With this in mind, we are getting locked and loaded with the Cardinals to cover. Our next afternoon game to break down takes us to Mile High Stadium, where the Denver Broncos will host the Kansas City Chiefs in a matchup that has all the ingredients for an exciting showdown. The Broncos are riding high after a big Thursday night football win over the Las Vegas Raiders, with their defense dominating the line of scrimmage and forcing key turnovers. Running back J.K. Dobbins continues to be a workhorse despite a minor foot injury, and under the leadership of head coach Sean Payton, Denver has shown impressive resilience at home, covering 4 of the last 5 games against Kansas City and Denver. In Week 9, the Chiefs fell 28-21 to the Bills, with Patrick Mahomes unable to overcome turnovers and missed opportunities in the red zone. Kansas City's offense struggled to finish drives, highlighting the impact of injuries on their high-powered attack. Now the Chiefs are coming off their bye week, giving head coach Andy Reid and his squad extra time to adjust and recover from injuries. Despite the break, the Chiefs are dealing with some key setbacks, including the absence of running back Isaiah Pacheco and offensive tackle Jawan Taylor, which can impact their high-powered offense led by quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Historically, Kansas City has dominated Denver, winning 17 of the last 19 meetings. As well, Andy Reid coached teams do very well coming off a bye week. But the Broncos' home field advantage and defensive strength could make this a closer contest than the numbers might suggest. For this matchup, expect a hard-fought, defensive battle with the Broncos staying within striking distance. We're getting locked and loaded with the Broncos to cover. And now we head to Lincoln Financial Field, where the lights are bright for Sunday Night Football as 2 NFC heavyweights collide, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. The Eagles come in off a hard-fought 10-7 win over Green Bay. It was not flashy, but it was efficient and tough, the kind of performance that defines great teams. Quarterback Jalen Hurts connected with Devonta Smith for the game's only touchdown, and Saquon Barkley provided the spark with a 41-yard reception to set up the score. Philadelphia's defense carried the night, holding Jordan Love under 200 yards and suffocating the Packers' attack. The Eagles' depth and discipline carried them again. They have now won 22 of their last 25 games and 14 of their last 15 at home. The Lions, meanwhile, come roaring in after a 44-22 dismantling of Washington. Quarterback Jared Goff was sharp, throwing for more than 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Running back Jahmyr Gibbs was electric, totaling over 140 rushing yards and scoring twice. Wide receiver Jameson Williams stretched the field, while Detroit's offensive line turned in a flawless performance, allowing 0 sacks. Head coach Dan Campbell has his team playing fearless football. The Lions have won 20 of their last 25 games. When these two meet, points usually follow. The total has gone over in 5 straight meetings. Philadelphia has won 5 of the last 7 at home, but Detroit has covered 4 of the last 5 overall. We feel the quarterback play is evenly stacked. Hurts brings mobility and power. Goff brings timing and precision. The Eagles have the stronger defense, but the Lions may have the best offensive line in football. The Eagles' defense will make plays, but Detroit's balance and trench play could prove decisive. We are getting locked and loaded with the Lions to cover. That wraps up another breakdown here on Locked and Loaded Sports. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the latest sports analysis and betting insights. More picks, more locks, and more action is coming your way. That's all for now. Stay sharp, stay ready, and get locked and loaded.